Let's talk about getting fitness results that last a lifetime. No more losing 10 pounds only to gain 20 back a few months later. If you find yourself on a pendulum swinging back and forth, losing and gaining the same 10 pounds, it can get really frustrating. And I've been there, and I was there for a really long time. I thought that in order to be in shape, I had to eat as little as possible and do as much exercise as I could to be dedicated and to really be fit. And the more I learned about exercise over time and the more I learned about nutrition, fitness, health, I learned I was just completely wrong. If I were to start my fitness journey all over again, this is what I would change. The first thing that I would do is learn to make small changes first. It sounds really simple to make small changes, but as someone who's a bit of a type A personality, someone who likes to dive all into things, it could be really hard to not try and just decide tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day that I change my life and I do all the things right and I'm gonna be a completely different person. And I convince myself this all the time. Maybe you're like me, where you're like, okay, Monday's the day and I'm gonna be a new person. I think social media totally makes that a thing. TikTok, Instagram, we always see that girl, that guy, and it's these people who are waking up at 5 a.m. every day and they journal and they have the perfect wake up routine and they go to the gym all the time and they have their job and they have their beautiful wind down routine and sleep routines and all these things. And it kind of becomes this thought that, okay, that's what it means to be healthy. And they're all the way over here and I'm all the way down here and I have so much to go to be that person. I have to do all of these things. But you don't have to do all those things. What you really should be focusing on is figuring out what things should you do to help improve your life, because every person is different. When I first started my fitness journey, I was a teenager and it was back in the Tumblr days, back when 30-day challenges were really popular, and it was all about losing weight, the thigh gap being as thin as possible. And when I was 19, I decided to do a bodybuilding competition, and I thought that by doing a bodybuilding competition, I would dive right in, do all of the things, and all of a sudden I would be this person that I thought I wanted to be. And I blindly followed my coach's advice. I didn't really research anything and I just dove in because that's the type of person I am. I was doing 6 workouts, weightlifting a week. I was doing, at certain points, 2 45-minute cardio sessions each week. I would have to tan a certain amount of times a week. I had to meal prep, drink a certain amount of water, have all these supplements, and this was really different than what I was used to before this. Yes, I got what I wanted. I won the trophies, I did really well, I got the applause, but the second that I no longer was competing, it just all fell apart because those weren't sustainable habits that I built. I did it all at once. I was frantic, I was neurotic, I was trying to do all the things jumbled in like a 16-week span, but you can't just restart your life in a 2-week challenge. I really spiraled after that bodybuilding competition because I didn't build small sustainable habits. I tried to jump in all at once and I just felt everything crumbling around me when I no longer had that structure. And if I were to do this all over again, instead, I would start this journey much, much slower. And really why I think about this now is I'm in this position where I've actually been injured for the past 9 months. I had an injury to my abdominals and it's made it so that I would have really random bursts of pain whenever I move. And it got really bad after I got the ick 19 and I spent the past 2 months barely able to get out of bed. It was really tough for me. And you know, as someone who works in the fitness industry, is a nutrition coach, is a fitness coach, you know, this is my livelihood. As someone who has a really long history in the modeling industry as well, my physique has always really mattered to me. And because I have all this fitness experience, because I have been that girl before, it's really tempting to just dive in, do all the things, try and brute force my way back into being a certain person or being a certain way and having certain habits, but I know in the long run that's not sustainable. Think about small habits or small changes you can make to your life until they become natural for you. So maybe you want to eat healthier. Try to add vegetables to each of your meals or add protein to each of your meals. At first, it might be kind of hard. You might not be used to caring about protein, but over time, over days, weeks, you'll get used to, I don't know, pulling out some chicken or protein powder or adding some tuna fish. And as that becomes natural, you can go, okay, cool, what else can I do? From there, you might decide, okay, I am kind of a sedentary person. How can I fix that? Let's try adding 5,000 to 8,000 steps a day and focus on getting that. And once you are able to change and add 5,000, 8,000 steps to your day, you now have the win of I've increased the amount of vegetable intake I have, the amount of protein I'm eating, and I'm walking. So even me, who has this long, huge history in the fitness industry, I'm starting small. I know I'm not the athlete that I was before I was injured. And, you know, the past month I've just been working on getting my steps up to 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day because for 2 months I wasn't able to move. And it was really tempting to jump in and do all the cardio and all the workouts once I got that doctor's approval, but that wouldn't be smart of me and that wouldn't be sustainable in the long run. By enacting these small changes, not only are you making changes that will be easier to adhere to in the long run because you're doing them slowly, it also allows you to celebrate a lot of small wins. Every time that you add one of these things into your life, it's like, cha-ching, like, look at this cool new habit. And I find that when you try and do all the things at once, it really can feel chaotic, it can feel like you're spiraling, and it can feel impossible to succeed when you're doing all these things wrong. So really give yourself that grace by going slow. And it just feels way better when you can celebrate those small wins rather than constantly beating yourself up for doing all these things wrong. Thing I would do is I would increase resistance training and I would decrease cardio. I used to think to get the body that I wanted, I had to do tons and tons of cardio. When I was younger, it was really popular to do insanity. And if you don't know what insanity is, it's like these series of video workouts and you have the main instructor and there's a bunch of people behind him and they are just screaming the whole time, doing burpees, yelling, running, and it is a super, super intense, high intensity cardio workout. And oh my gosh, I hurt myself all the time doing it. I was not equipped to do burpees. My joints hurt all the time and I was just exhausted. I always hurt more after than I felt good. What I later learned is that cardio is a great tool for weight loss, fitness, health. It is super important, but not in the way that I thought it was. Cardio really should be used for performance and cardiovascular health. But as a tool for weight loss, it's more like a sidekick to nutrition and weightlifting. By weightlifting and by doing resistance training workouts, you are increasing muscle mass. And when you increase muscle mass, this means that you're gonna burn more calories when you're at rest because muscle burns more calories than fat. When you do resistance training, you are burning calories not just during the workout, but hours after while you're at rest because of the muscle you put on. And so that means that by having this muscle mass, you're kind of getting like way more bang for your buck. I now realize that to get the physique I wanted, the like toned look, this was all through weightlifting. I didn't realize that I wasn't going to get that look by just manually burning calories, because if you lose a bunch of weight by doing cardio but you don't have muscle underneath that, you're not going to have muscle. You're just going to look like a smaller version of the same body you had before. And that's not to say that I would give up cardio. I totally believe cardio is important, But I think that when you do cardio, it should be for performance, it should be for cardiovascular health, and think of it more for the health purposes rather than the fat loss purposes of it. And I can say now, with where I am in my fitness journey, getting back into things, it was really, really, really tempting to add in all of these cardio sessions because I'm a little uncomfortable with how I look right now. And part of me was like, okay, if I just manually burn all these calories, I'll get back to how I used to look before. But I know better, and instead I'm focusing on my resistance training, and I'm focusing on building back some of the muscle mass that I lost over time, because in the long run, this is what's going to help me out. The next thing I do is I would stop crash dieting. I would always try to be losing weight before an event, and this could be anything from like a beach trip to a school dance. As I got older, I'm do a lot of cosplay and anime conventions, and I would like feel this need to lose weight because I knew I'd be getting photographed a bunch at these comic conventions, and I would try to lose as much weight as possible before them. But the second that the event was over, I would go back to my old habits. I would drink again, I would eat the same way I used to, I would move less, and I would gain it back and then some. The type of changes that we want to make, you know, I would say most of us want it to last like a lifetime. We don't want to be stuck in this cycle, this like endless loop, this yo-yo of gaining and losing the same 10 pounds. And if we want that, it's going to take longer than like a 2-week challenge or even 3 months. Like, give yourself a year. Because what I didn't know then that I know now is that our bodies are homeostasis machines. They want to stay the same. I would get stuck where I'd be like, I've damaged my metabolism, I'm in starvation mode. But knowing what I know now, that's not the case. What's actually happened is metabolic adaption, and it's your body doing what it's supposed to. When you eat more, your body is going to want to burn more calories, and when you eat less, it wants to burn less calories because your body wants you to stay at homeostasis. It wants you to stay as you are. So if I'm eating 2,000 calories now, and that's my maintenance to maintain my weights, and I drop my calories down to 1,700, at first I might lose weight on those calories, but over time my metabolism would slow down until 1,700 is my new maintenance. So I'm doing the same amount of activity. Now I'm maintaining this new weight at 1,700 calories. And the problem is with these crash diets is you are restricting the calories so intensely, you know, now you're stuck eating like 1,500 calories, 1,200 calories, and it's just so severe that like no one can live off that. And the more I would crash diet, and be in this loop, being in this cycle, the more muscle mass I would lose over time as my body is trying to catch up and fuel itself off the very little food that I'm giving it. But then over time, you know, losing weight became like doubly hard because of this metabolic adaption. Knowing what I know now, instead, I would make sure that when I go through a deficit, I would take it a bit slower, but that I would also allow myself to go back up to maintenance calories, and then maybe even bulk, and spend more time out of a deficit than I spent in a deficit, because I would spend most of my time trying to lose weight, and I never gave my body a chance to catch up and be at maintenance and just kind of exist. And by giving yourself more time in maintenance and by giving your body time in that bulk, you are priming your body to be able to go into a deficit at a higher amount of calories. And it just makes it a way better experience than trying to lose weight on 1,200 calories, because that's just not sustainable, it's not fun, and it's dangerous. The next change I would make is I would follow a program. So when I first started working out, I would go from fitness class to fitness class. I was a bit like addicted to trying new fitness classes, whether it was like CrossFit or boot camp or Zumba, or like the ones where you're like stepping on the like little step stooly thingies. I even did like water aerobics at one point. There's this really popular saying where it's like, you have to confuse your muscles. Your muscles like aren't a brain, like you won't confuse them. It's just way smarter to work out with a program in place and it can benefit you in a lot of ways. When you have a program, this means that you have a plan in place, and this plan is probably set up in a way to help you reach a specific goal. You have a fitness plan, you're able to get rid of the mind clutter when you step into the gym. You have your workout pre-planned and you just go and you do it. And for a beginner especially, this is really helpful because the night before you have a plan in action. You can go up onto YouTube, you can talk to your trainer, and you can look up the form, look up what you're doing, really answer any of those questions that you have or any doubts, so that when you go to the gym, you feel really confident about what you're about to do. By having a plan in place, this also forces you in a lot of ways to be accountable. If you miss your workout, it's like, I didn't just miss my workout, I missed, okay, I was supposed to hit tries and buys today. You are missing a certain thing. So you really hold yourself accountable when you do have a plan. On the other side, by having a plan, this also forces you to do things that you don't want to do. When it's programmed in there that you have to do, for me, I can't stand working out my back, but when it's in my program, I gotta do it. And it keeps me accountable, it keeps me consistent for working out those things that I don't necessarily enjoy doing. Most importantly, I think having a program is smart because it allows you to progressively overload, and you know you're progressively overloading. So what is progressive overload? Essentially, it means that you are challenging yourself each week and making it a little harder. There's a lot of different ways that you can make your workouts harder. This can mean changing the tempo. This means that you can make your weights heavier. This means you can add more sets, more reps. There's a lot of different things you can do to make your workouts harder, but over time, you really want to increase the stimulus and make the workouts more challenging. And the way to know that you're doing this is to have it written down, because it's really hard to know if you're making things harder if you don't keep a record of that. Following a program also means that you're able to track your progress over time, and that is really, really rewarding to see where you were a few weeks ago versus where you are now. I really encourage that you work with a trainer like myself, or you find a template online and do this so that you can track your progress over time, so that you can go through periodization, so that you make sure you're progressively overloading over time. And really, by following a program, this is where you'll see some of the biggest results, rather than just going into the gym with no plan in mind. Even after all these years of experience I have working out, I still go in with a program, I still track my gains, I still make sure I go in with an idea of what I'm doing, rather than just kind of aimlessly floating through the gym. The last thing that I would change is I would prioritize recovery and stress management. Oof. Boy, I'm a stress machine. It feels really, it's hard. Maybe you're just a really stressed person like I am. When I first started working out, I was in high school, college, and I don't know why, but I think back in school, it was almost like a badge of pride to be tired all the time. You'd show up and be like, I slept 2 hours, and I nailed, I don't sleep, I grind. And sleep is awesome. Maybe I just appreciate it now that I'm 28 and a bit older, but sleep and stress management is just as important as, exercise and nutrition. They are, no pun intended, really slept on. How building muscle works is you're essentially tearing down your muscles every time you work out. And what happens, how muscle builds, is it's repairing itself stronger and better and bigger than it was before. So when you get proper amounts of recovery and sleep, you're allowing yourself to build these muscles. But if you don't get proper recovery, if you don't sleep, you're just hurting yourself in the long run. You are not going to build muscles, and you'll probably end up hurting yourself. I think that there's a really busted notion that you need to be grinding 24/7 in the gym, 7 days a week. But for a lot of people, this is actually killing their gains. They are not giving themselves enough recovery. And, when you are super into fitness, it can be hard to take those rest days, but you can do things like active rest, go take a hike or take walks or do yoga on your off days. You can still be active, but like pushing really hard, you know, lifting to like almost max all the time and not giving yourself time to recover, it's really killing your gains, man. Stress, I didn't realize how interconnected stress was to everything. But whew, knowing what I know now, stress is really, really important to health. You know, back in the day, in the old caveman days, we would see, you know, like a saber-toothed tiger, and, you know, our bodies react and we go into a mode of like, oh shit, right? We would see the saber-toothed tiger and would be like, oh snap, like, it's go time to fight. You're either gonna fight, freeze, or flight, right? Your synapses are fired, CNS system ready to go. Really awesome. Our bodies could then shoot up our cortisol, and then we'd be in like super mode so that we could, you know, handle this threat. Today is, you know, we don't have saber-toothed tigers that we're fighting. We have like taxes or like in-laws or work, you know, our everyday stressors, but our body still internalizes those stresses the same way that it would a saber-toothed tiger. Oof. Acute stress, you know, like little things, it's good. You can adapt and you can change over it. But when you're in a chronic state of stress, it really does a toll on your body. When your body is constantly in this fight, flight, or freeze mode, your cortisol's all the way up and your other hormones are completely out of whack. Estrogen, testosterone is probably tanking because, you know, if you're busy fighting a saber-toothed tiger, you're probably not wanting to bang, right? So it doesn't need to produce those same testosterone or estrogen hormones. And being able to have those balanced hormones is really important. It will benefit you in the long run. It will help with your fitness journey, your health, how you feel. There are a lot of negative side effects when these hormones are all out of whack, and having that chronic stress in your life is a really big thing that can impact that. So, you know, as I'm restarting my fitness journey, I am really prioritizing sleep, and I'm really prioritizing stress management because they are just as important to getting these gains as exercise and nutrition are. So I'm doing things like I added blackout curtains to my room. I am journaling for stress relief. I am setting boundaries with people that I may have not before. And I'm really evaluating, you know, what's important in life and what's not, because stress shouldn't be something that I wear with like a badge of honor. I think too many of us are addicted to the grind, and it's important to just like chill sometimes. Working out is a stress on your body. Being in a calorie deficit is adding stress to your body. So if you're already stressed because, like, I don't know, you're in a chronic state of stress because of a bad relationship or you hate your job, you're pulling from like an empty jar, and it is really not setting you up for success. So when you start your fitness journey, you really do need to focus on those things like sleep and stress just as much as you do exercise and nutrition. These are all things that I would do if I was restarting my fitness journey today. And in a lot of ways, since my injury, I am kind of restarting my fitness journey. And I'm really excited that this time around, I feel confident that I'm doing things in a way that will set me up for success and won't leave me burnt out and frustrated that I'm not getting results. Subscribe to my channel. Next week, I'm going to do a video where I talk about the 4 pillars of health that you should be implementing into your fitness journey if you want to succeed.